What's up, Sunday fam? Welcome back to another video. This week we are visiting Japan in their drama on Netflix, Alice in Borderland. Before we get started with the heavy spoiler territory, you guys should just go watch this show, binge all 8 episodes, and then come right back. So this is interesting because Korea or K-dramas have taken over, you know, with hit after hit, drama after drama coming to Netflix, and now it is Japan's turn with their very own JDrama, Alice in Borderland, where Arisu finds himself in the Borderland, where you are confined to your borders, and should you leave, a laser goes pss.
Yeah, what's amazing about this show, like, let's talk about it first things first, right?
Yeah.
What it seems to be is just like a normal day in the life of a video gamer, Arisu, and his friends, this dynamic trio. What I originally thought was that Arisu would be this genius who's going to be the hero of the show.
The gaming prodigy.
The prodigy, and then Karube, the muscle, Chota,
was the heart. Just
yeah,
like
the moral
person.
compass,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And I honestly thought this was gonna be a zombie apocalypse dystopian type of show.
Yeah.
Like when everybody disappeared, I was like, okay, so there's something a little bit different here. And the question comes to mind is like, now that we find out that this is purely part of the survival game genre, in terms of like I have battle royale floating through my head, because it's really one of the first shows or stories that I've seen in that type of genre, which was super brutal. And
Yeah.
what we find out as we progress through the drama is that it is brutal.
Yes, no holds barred on the violence, no holds barred on the rated M for mature material. You know, when I first saw the trailer for this show, I thought, hey, it's another isekai genre type of thing where they find themselves in another world, and that is a famous genre in anime, but this one is a little bit different. Obviously, they're not in like another game world, they're in another type of world, a parallel world, whatever the synopsis says. It's certainly interesting, this gestalt that they put in front of us with the characters, and they have to play games that are, you know, divided into difficulties with the playing card, and the higher value of the card, the higher the difficulty. And of course it's also additionally categorized with themes of these games, categorized by the suits.
One of those themes, which is the most heart-wrenching part of this show, is hearts. When you're dealt with a card that has anything to do with the hearts,
you gotta play. The players' hearts are tested, and their mettle is tested. One of the surprising things about this show is, you know, the people who started in the beginning, Arisu, Karube, and Chota, I thought they were the main characters. They were the protagonists. They would go on through the season, and then, you know, one by one they would be whittled down. But they up and just got rid of them.
that's really one of the best things about this show. Like it does not sugarcoat anything. It's a survival game. You either win or you die. And then in episode 3, when you get to that episode, it's game over for Karube and Chota. Like
Yes.
the game of hearts, like they are pit against each other in this game of hearts, and it's just so brutal. It's so gut-wrenching. Like I was confused. I was like, wait, are they really gonna die this early?
Did
like
they really kill them?
their character development has just started, and you just started to kind of, you know, relate to them and kind of gravitated and connect to the characters, and boom, it was just like that. And then it's really just about a journey of Arisu and, you know, what he's made of, like whether he chooses to live or whether he chooses to die, and that's really kind of like the personification of this show.
And it goes in line with what you were saying about you thinking that Arisu was this gaming genius, and that episode kind of subverted all expectations, where you thought at the very end, in the face of his friend's looming death, you thought he would like go into gamer mode and find out the trick to this game. And then, as if things couldn't get any more interesting, we're introduced to the beach, and this, you know, post-apocalyptic dystopia turns into this social dynamic commentary where it's like Lord of the Flies, and this microcosm of a civilization exists with the boss or Hatter, who is the number one, and then everyone's kind of like winning their games and collecting the cards for him.
Yeah, let's talk about the beach. It's supposed to be a symbol of hope, like this utopia in this world where you either like I keep saying, where either you win or you die. It's like this place where people can just relax and live out their days as if it's their last, right? And the best part about this, it's like, it's kind of just a metaphor, because the Hatter created this place for people to, you know, to kind of come in and just, you know, be part of almost this like cult or organization. But at the end of the day, he created a monster,
and he became the monster,
and he became the monster himself. Like, he could not control it anymore, even though it was just this really nice and glamorous place where everybody was working together to collect the cards, to play the games together. There was some strategy to it. He sold them on the hope that they would all leave this world together or one by one, but at the end of the day, it was just a big lie. He wanted to recreate this world where he himself could be king.
Yeah, it was a total house of cards, and it just completely fell onto itself. And so we come to the end where Aguni and Hatter have a falling out, and we find out that Aguni actually was defending himself against Hatter, who had gone crazy, and Aguni wanted himself to die a martyr and just kind of, you know, incite all of this violence so that everyone would just kill him. And in that game, it was revealed that the games have dealers. This happened throughout the season, where there were situations where the game was not centered around a living player, right? They had kind of plants, or they had a game that was tailored to make everyone kill themselves.
Yeah, there was always a mechanism behind it, and you'd never expected that there were people that were planted within the games, and there were these game masters in control of the games. Before we get to the end of it, though, before we explain what happens at the very end, well, I guess this is part of what happens at the very end, right? The beach goes out of control, everybody starts dying, the militants are just killing everybody, but this is all because of, you know, I feel like the Hatter just kind of chose the easy way out. He lost control, he was losing himself, and so he did this thing against Aguni in a kind of like a one-on-one confrontation. His gun wasn't loaded, and I think it was his plan all along.
One small thing I want to shout out is the direction of this show. It's just beautifully shot. You know, the framing and the composition and all of the, like, everything, like, coming together just worked so well. And I have to shout out the action set pieces that they have. You know, it's not your typical, you know, shaky cam close-ups that you see, the cutaways. There's a lot of great action on here, and it's expected from the director that did Bleach as well. And just a small shout out before we move on to Kuina versus the samurai guy. That fight was just amazing. Some fights you think are gonna span over a couple minutes. This happened in a matter of seconds, where she just did this awesome karate counter parry into an elbow, into a roundhouse. It was beautiful.
Oh, I love that scene. That is one of my favorite scenes as we get later on into the episodes, to be quite frank. Like, her story, her backstory was just like so surprising. Like, when she came out and said, "I got this," in that scene, I was like, wait a minute, she was just trying to quit smoking, and she was just having a good time. She was best friends with the guy with the white hoodie and all of that stuff. And, you know, you start to kind of, your brain just starts to kind of go to work, and it's like, oh, what is her backstory? And we find out that she was once a boy, you know, trained under like this master karate dojo like, under her father. And then we get to that breathtaking scene where it's just this very simple move, like Element pointed out. These fight scenes, the choreography, you're left breathless because it's showing you exactly what they're doing, right? There's no shaky cam, there's no quick cuts to like certain angles that could make you throw up here and there, but it was just such a beautiful executed scene, and it's left a mark in my mind.
Which brings us to the ending, where Asahi revealed herself to be a dealer, and she had a phone with her that had recorded a personal journal or a vlog. And Arisu and Usagi watch it, and they find that there's this place with some monitors. There's people betting on these games, and we get the reveal that these dealers were planted and taggers planted in these games to make these games play out in a certain way, or in a way that they desired. And then Arisu and Usagi find this place with Chishiya and Kuina, and then we're met with this grandiose video reveal of Mira from the beach, you know, declaring the face card games, the royal face cards. And these blimps show up with, they roll out the red carpet, so to speak, with these giant cards. And now the games are probably going to grow exponentially.
They're the last four survivors, I mean, from the story, right? The main characters. And, you know, just the way her character Mira, like the video, it seemed like it was controlled. There's such deeper mechanisms into this game, and who's behind these games? The controllers, the dealers, are they also are their lives also at stake if they do not win? Because there's gambling and there's losing and there's winning, and then when they find the control center, they're all dead. Perhaps because they won that witch hunt in the beach, right?
Yeah.
And so her excitement for the next level of games, it just sent tingles down my spine. It was just like, oh, now we're getting to the face cards, and I was like, what? You cannot end this season right here and there.
So on to my theory as to what is happening. This screams Maze Runner, Hunger Games to me, where there's this arena that has been built, and I'm taking into account the name of the show, Borderland. There's this arena that's been built to experiment, to test people and test human nature and their response to being pushed to the edge. And you know, the way they control things, the way that they control the electricity, the way they control the arenas and set things up, the lasers, it all screams, you know, Hunger Games Dome, where there's an actual game master who's at work and who's on these controls and just just firing at these people who aren't following the rules. With the Maze Runner angle, this is just a huge experiment to see, you know, which of these people deserve to live. And you know, it's a social experiment to kind of cull all of the bad people. And I know that's a huge trope, but it's an interesting trope to see what angle they're approaching this at to determine who gets to live and who gets to die. Like in the Maze Runner, obviously they were trying to find people who were able to bring the world into a new dawn or whatever after a horrible virus. And in this one, I'm interested to know if this is the case, if they're culling people, what it is for.
It certainly feels like it's something that you can safely theorize, right? Like, there's nothing wrong with it being tropey as long as the execution is done well. And I think the execution is done well here. Now, whether it's centered around Maze Runner or the Hunger Games, I actually think it's a little bit more like Westworld. I do agree of the fact that they're culling the people, but it's just so hard for me to believe, like, what happened to everybody in the blink of an eye? The fireworks go up into the sky and everyone disappears. So there's only really, well, actually, I have no idea how they made people disappear unless it was always controlled, right? It was always in this place where it's like, as you said, it's an arena that has been controlled. People have been living their lives in this dome.
And there's like simulated
life, AIs, and then all of a sudden the chosen few, the chosen survivors to play out this massive game could just be part of like many domes, just like in Westworld. Many worlds where only the rich and the privileged get to enjoy the delicacies of a survival game.
One thing I do want to mention about the people on the monitors betting on the games, I do believe that was their game. I think they had the games on the outside. There was the dealers and the taggers who had their own game, and they lost if the players won those games.
Yeah.
And so that's why they were taking bets, I think. I don't know like the inner workings of it, but I think that's for sure why they were dead at the end. The players won the final game with the 10 of hearts.
And so the dealers died.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you guys think? Put your theories down in the comment section below. I'd love to know what they are. What stood out to you the most? Why is this show so good?
Well, I think the most interesting thing about this show is actually, less of the plot-driven aspect of it. The character piece and the character study is, through and through, I think the best thing about this show, because you can find yourself in every single character that we've met. And I love the way that they actually revisited the origins of all of the new people, well, most of the new people that we've met. And, you don't really get that in most shows. You get the protagonist, the antagonist, and then you get ancillary characters who are somewhat sprinkled with salt and pepper to help the protagonist. We're getting flashbacks of their past life and giving them more of a foundation for us to kind of connect with.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you. Like, I think every character, there is you within any of these characters. Some you might relate to more than others, but every one of these characters represent our human nature, right? What really stood out to me the most is that they didn't bail out. You know, they stayed true to their character, especially Arisu. Like we were watching this, and you were like, when is he gonna break out into hero mode? Well, like it never happens. He stays true to character. He does not have any athletic or physical ability to take on anybody. He's a video gamer, and his heroism is in his head.
Yes, absolutely. And when he has those heroic moments, it's not like a flash like in an anime where, you know, we got these graphics in front of his head and it's just these numbers and shapes and he's working things out like a calculator, but you know, he's just putting like, you know, 2 and 2 together at the same pace as someone with his talents would. And you know, a lot of the revelations make sense, and a lot of the ways that they win the games are just absolutely clever and mind-boggling. And that's another piece that we'll have to revisit when the games conclude with season 2. Hopefully,
let's get season 2.
That'll do it for Alice in Borderland Ending Explained. I hope you guys learned something from this video. If you did, press the like button, subscribe for more videos from us, and as always, we'll see you in the next one.